Alright everyone, so this time we're gonna learn about XPath. And one thing I wanna tell you before we start is for every project we're gonna do next, I'm gonna use XPath over CSS selectors. The only reason why I showed you how to write CSS selectors is because we're gonna need them when I'm gonna cover Splash. And of course, for each project, I'm gonna add an article showing you the CSS version of the code I write. Now for this video, we're gonna use this website to test every XPath expression we're gonna write. And later on, when we start with real websites, we'll use Google Chrome. So the first thing you have to do is to download this HTML file I included to this lecture as a downloadable resource. I only made some tiny changes so I can show you what XPath can do. After that, copy everything from that HTML file, open up your favorite browser and navigate to this website and then paste everything in this text area. Now, in the previous section, we learned that we can select an element from the HTML web page by using / and then the target element name. So let's say we want this h1. So to select it, we use / h1. So this XPath expression will look for all the h1 elements in our HTML markup without taking into consideration the element position, whether it's inside another element or outside it. However, as I said to you in the previous video, we always tend to be specific about element selection. So let's say we only want to get the P's that are inside this div element with the class attribute set to intro. Now in XPath, if you want to select any element based on its class name, we start with / as usual, the element name, which is div in our case, and to specify the target attribute, whether it's a class, ID, or anything else, we use @ class equals to intro. So like this, we selected only the div with the class attribute set to intro. And if you want to get the P elements that are inside that div, we add /P. So looking at the syntax, I know CSS looks much cleaner than XPath, but XPath is richer in terms of functionalities. So in addition to selecting all the divs with the class intro, we want also to select this div with the class attribute set to outro too. For that purpose, what we can do is use the OR logical operator inside the square brackets. So OR @class equals to outro. So this XPath expression will be evaluated like this. Select all the P elements that are children of this div element with the class attribute set to intro or with the class attribute set to outro. And unlike CSS selectors, XPath did indeed select this span with ID set to location, because if you remember, in CSS selectors, we have to explicitly add the span in order to select it. Now, if you want to only get the text value of the selected elements, we add /text, as easy as that. Now, let's say you want the href attribute value from these two A elements. So what we can do is write /A and then /@href to select the href attribute only. But what if we want to only select the A that its href attribute starts with HTTPS and not HTTP? So let's delete this part and let's add the square brackets. Now in XPath, we have a function called start-with. This function takes two arguments. The first one is where you want to search. In our case, we want to look in the href attribute value, so @href. And the second argument is the value you are looking for, which is in our case HTTPS. We got an error. That's because I forget to add the s here, so starts with. There we go. This time we only get the first A element. Alternatively, if you want to select only the A elements that ends with fr, we can replace starts with by and -with. Let's change the value to fr. There we go. Now we got the second link. However, the ends with function is supported only in XPath version 2.0, and XML does only support version 1.0. Actually, not only XML, even browsers like Chrome do only support version 1.0. So if you try to use this function, you will end up getting an error. I'm not gonna cover how to solve this in this video yet because things can be a little bit complicated. Now, beside this starts with function and the ends with function, we can also search for text in between. Means not on the start nor at the end by using the contains function. So let's replace ends with by contains. This function also takes two arguments. The first one is where we want to look. So let's say we are looking for a elements that the href attribute contains the word Google. Now, something I want to make you aware of is sometimes we also want to look for the text that the element does contain. For example, let's say we want to select the A element which contains the text France. So, for that purpose, instead of passing the attribute name as a first argument, we use the text function. And let's change the value to France with capital F. One important thing is that the contains function starts with and ends with the value you pass as a second argument is case sensitive. Means if I make this f lowercase, we won't get anything in return. Okay, so let's revert back this to capital F. There we go. Alright, now let's talk a little bit on how to select elements based on their position. And let's say we are interested in getting this first list item from this UL element. So let's change our XPath expression to /UL with ID equals to items and then /li. Now this XPath expression, of course, it will return all the list items that are inside the UL element. And to select the first list item, we use square brackets and then 1. Like this, we only get the first list item. Now to select both the first one and the last one, which is on the 4th position, maybe you can think of using the OR logical operator. So let's add OR here and then 4. However, like this, we do get all the list items, not just the first and the last one. So alternatively, we have to use another function called position. So let's delete all of this. And let's set position, it's a function, so we have to use the parentheses equals to 1 or position equals to 4. We got an error, that's because I forgot to add the square brackets here, so let me add it. Beautiful. So like this, we do indeed get the first and the last item. Now, since we are interested on getting the last item, we can replace 4 by another function called last. This way we don't have to manually count on which position the last item is. And one cool thing I want to show you is we can even use mathematical operators like greater than and less than. For example, if you replace this equal sign by greater than, and we delete this part, we will get all the items where the position is indeed greater than 1. So this was everything for this video. As always, don't watch it once, repeat and practice until everything stays in your head. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to navigate in the HTML markup of the tree using XPath. Means I'm going to show you how to go up and go down in the HTML tree, which is something CSS selectors lacks of.